The courthouse was exactly as I remembered it, all marble columns and echoing halls, the air heavy with the weight of decisions that changed lives. I stood in the back of courtroom 7, wearing a dark wig and glasses, watching my sister Lisa pretend to be me. "Yes, Your Honor," she said, her voice a perfect imitation of mine. "It's been 5 years since my sister Lisa's disappearance. As the only remaining Parker daughter, I'm requesting to be named sole heir to the estate. My name is Amanda Parker, though for the past 5 years, only 3 people in the world have known that. To everyone else, including my sister, I vanished without a trace the same night our parents were murdered." Lisa had always been good at imitation. Growing up, she would copy my mannerisms, my laugh, even forge my signature for fun. I never thought she'd try to steal my entire identity. "Miss Parker," Judge Harrison said, reviewing the papers before him, "your sister's body was never found, without proof of death." "Your Honor," Lisa's lawyer interrupted smoothly, "we have extensive documentation from private investigators indicating that Lisa Parker is almost certainly deceased. Given the circumstances of her disappearance and the tragic murder of their parents that same night, we believe it's time to legally recognize what we all know to be true." I felt my hand clench around the folder I was holding. Lisa had hired investigators to declare me dead, probably the same ones who had failed to solve our parents' murder. The irony would have been amusing if it wasn't so infuriating. 5 years ago, I had come home to find our parents dead and Lisa unconscious. The police called it a home invasion gone wrong. But I knew better. Dad had been acting strange in the weeks before, making cryptic phone calls, moving money between accounts. Mom had been nervous, jumping at shadows. While Lisa was in the hospital, I started digging. What I found led me down a rabbit hole of corporate espionage, hidden accounts, and dangerous people who would do anything to keep their secrets. Dad had discovered something he shouldn't have, and it got him killed. That's when Agent Sarah Chin from the FBI approached me. She had been tracking the organization responsible for my parents' death for years. They were smart, careful, and nearly impossible to catch, unless someone could get close enough to gather evidence from the inside. Someone like the grieving daughter of their latest victims. "We can protect you," Sarah had told me that night in the hospital parking lot. "But you'll have to disappear completely. No contact with anyone from your old life. Not even your sister." "For how long?" I had asked. "As long as it takes to bring them down." I made my decision that night, watching Lisa sleep in her hospital bed. She would be safer not knowing, I told myself. Better to let her think I was missing or dead than make her a target too. But I never imagined she would try to become me. Furthermore, Lisa's lawyer continued, pulling me back to the present. "My client has been effectively managing both her and her sister's inheritance for the past 5 years. She's demonstrated remarkable business acumen." "You mean she's been accessing my accounts illegally?" I muttered under my breath. A woman sitting in front of me turned around with a curious look. I quickly averted my eyes, remembering I was supposed to be invisible. 5 years of undercover work had taught me the value of staying unnoticed. Those 5 years had been a careful dance of getting closer to the organization while gathering evidence. I had started as a low-level employee at one of their front companies, slowly working my way up. Every conversation recorded, every document photographed, every meeting noted. 3 days ago, it had finally paid off. The FBI had enough evidence to move on the entire organization. The arrests were happening tomorrow, which was why I could finally come out of hiding. But first, I had to deal with my sister. "Very well," Judge Harrison said, shuffling his papers. "I'll review these documents and make my decision at tomorrow's hearing. Miss Parker, please be present at 9 a.m. Lisa stood up, smoothing down her dress. My dress, I realized with a jolt. She was wearing the black Chanel I'd left behind. She even styled her hair the way I used to wear it. As she walked past my row, I caught a whiff of my old perfume. She had really committed to becoming me down to the smallest detail. The question was, why? Was it just about the money, or was there something else? I followed her out of the courthouse, maintaining a safe distance. She walked with my confident stride, nodding to people who greeted her as Amanda. Everyone seemed to accept her performance without question. My phone buzzed, a text from Sarah. "Everything set for tomorrow. Team in position." I typed back quickly. "Court hearing at 9. We'll handle sister first." Sarah replied immediately. "Be careful. She might not be working alone." That thought had occurred to me too. Lisa's transformation into me was too perfect, too well planned. Had she been coached? Was she connected to the same people who killed our parents? I watched her get into my old Mercedes. She'd even kept my car and drive away. Time to put my own plans in motion. That evening, I sat in Sarah's FBI surveillance van, watching the feeds from the cameras we'd place around Lisa's house. My house, technically, since she was living in my home while pretending to be me. Your sisters had visitors, Sarah said, pulling up some footage. Regular meetings with this man. I leaned forward, studying the grainy image. That's Marcus Reynolds. He was Dad's business partner. The one who took over the company after your parents died. I nodded. Dad never trusted him. Said Marcus was too ambitious, too willing to cut corners. We watched as Lisa let Marcus into the house. Their body language was intimate, clearly more than a business relationship. Well, Sarah said dryly, that's interesting. Play the audio, I requested. Lisa's voice came through the speakers. Everything's on track. Tomorrow I'll be legally declared Amanda, and we can move forward with a merger. Marcus' reply was smooth, confident, perfect. Once you're officially Amanda Parker, you'll have full voting rights on the board. We can push through the sale before anyone realizes what's happening. I felt my blood run cold. The company merger, that's what Dad was investigating before he died. He found something wrong with the numbers. Sarah was already pulling up files on her laptop. The merger would give control of Parker Industries to Global Core, one of the shell companies our organization uses to launder money. So Lisa's not just stealing my identity, I said slowly. She's helping the people who killed our parents. Question is, does she know that? I studied my sister's face on the screen. The Lisa I knew wasn't capable of murder, but then again, the Lisa I knew wouldn't have stolen her sister's identity either. 5 years was a long time. People change. Tomorrow's going to be interesting, I said, pulling out my phone to set things in motion. Very interesting indeed. That night, I broke into my old house while Lisa was sleeping. It felt strange using my lock-picking skills, learned during years undercover, to enter my own home. Everything was different yet somehow the same. Lisa had redecorated, but kept certain things exactly as they were when I left. My old office was now hers, the desk positioned exactly where I used to keep it. In her bedroom, I found a shelf full of items she used to help maintain her role as me. Photos she'd studied, notebooks filled with practice signatures, even recordings of my voice from old family videos. The level of dedication was disturbing. But it was what I found in the safe that made my heart stop. Dad's old journal, the one that had gone missing after his death. The one that probably contained the evidence that got him killed. I photographed every page before returning it exactly as I'd found it. As I was closing the safe, I heard movement in the hallway. Hello? Lisa's voice, still using my inflections even in her own home. Is someone there? I pressed myself against the wall, barely breathing. After a moment, she went back to bed. I waited until I heard her breathing even out before slipping away. Back in my hotel room, I reviewed everything I found. The pieces were falling into place. Lisa's role, Marcus's involvement, the merger that would give a criminal organization control of our family's company. Ready for tomorrow? Sarah asked during our final check-in call. I looked at my reflection in the mirror, removing the wig and glasses that had hidden my identity for so long. More than ready. Time to show my sister what it really means to be Amanda Parker. The morning of the hearing dawned bright and clear. I stood in my hotel bathroom, staring at my reflection as I removed the last traces of my disguise. For the first time in 5 years, I looked like myself again. Amanda Parker, not the various aliases I'd hidden behind. My phone buzzed with updates from Sarah, teams in position, arrests beginning at multiple locations. Marcus Reynolds taken into custody 20 minutes ago. Perfect. One piece of Lisa's plan was already crumbling. I dressed carefully in a navy blue suit, identical to the one Lisa was wearing in yesterday's hearing. A deliberate choice that would become clear soon enough. Courtroom 7 was packed when I arrived. Lisa sat at the front, looking confident in her role as me. She had no idea her world was about to shatter. "All rise," the bailiff announced as Judge Harrison entered. As everyone settled back into their seats, Lisa's lawyer stood. "Your Honor, before we proceed, I'd like to—" "If I may, Your Honor," I interrupted, standing up from my place at the back of the courtroom. "There's something that needs to be addressed first." Lisa turned at the sound of my voice, and I watched the color drain from her face. For a moment, it was like looking in a mirror, two identical women in identical suits, facing each other across a crowded courtroom. "What is this?" Judge Harrison demanded. "Your Honor," I said, walking forward, "I am Amanda Parker. That woman is my sister Lisa, who has been illegally impersonating me for the past 5 years." The courtroom erupted in whispers. Lisa jumped to her feet. "She's lying. I'm Amanda Parker." "Actually," I replied calmly, pulling out my folder of evidence, "I can prove otherwise. But first, perhaps we should discuss why you've been pretending to be me. Does it have something to do with the merger you and Marcus Reynolds were planning?" Lisa's face went even paler. "I don't know what you're talking about." "No? Then let me refresh your memory." I turned to Judge Harrison. "Your Honor, I've been working undercover with the FBI for the past 5 years, investigating the organization responsible for our parents' murder. The same organization that Lisa has been helping in her role as me." I pulled out Dad's journal. "This contains evidence of financial irregularities that our father discovered before his death. Irregularities involving Marcus Reynolds and the company that was set to merge with Parker Industries. A company that, as of this morning, has been exposed as a front for a major criminal enterprise." Lisa's lawyer was on his feet. "Your Honor, these are wild accusations." "They're documented facts," said a new voice. Sarah walked in, holding up her FBI badge. "We have extensive evidence of Ms. Lisa Parker's involvement in both identity theft and corporate fraud." Lisa looked around wildly, like a cornered animal. "You don't understand," she said, her voice shaking. "They gave me no choice." "There's always a choice, Lisa," I said quietly. "You could have chosen to honor our parents' memory instead of working with the people who killed them." "Our parents?" She laughed, a bitter sound. "You abandoned me. You disappeared when I needed you most." "I left to protect you," I countered. "To find the truth about what happened to Mom and Dad." "What's your excuse for becoming me? Was it just about the money?" "The money." Lisa's laugh had an edge of hysteria now. "You think this was about money? I became you because I had to, because you were the perfect one, the successful one, the one everyone respected. When you disappeared, I finally had the chance to be something other than the other Parker daughter." The pain in her voice hit me hard. All these years, I thought I was protecting her, but I'd never considered how my disappearance would affect her psychologically. "Miss Parker," "Lisa," Judge Harrison interjected, "you do realize the severity of your actions? Identity theft, fraud. She committed worse than that, Your Honor," I said, pulling out my final piece of evidence. "We found emails proving she knew about our parents' murder beforehand. She didn't just work with their killers after the fact. She helped set up the circumstances that led to their deaths." The courtroom fell silent. Lisa's face crumpled as she realized everything was over. "Is this true?" Judge Harrison asked. Lisa sank back into her chair. "Marcus said. He said they would just scare them. Get Dad to back off from investigating the merger. I didn't know they would." She broke off, tears streaming down her face. I felt my own eyes stinging. "All this time you knew who killed them, and instead of seeking justice, you joined their side." "I was afraid," she whispered. "After you disappeared, they approached me, said they could make me into someone stronger, someone like you. I just wanted to stop being afraid." Sarah stepped forward, nodding to two agents who had entered the courtroom. "Lisa Parker, you're under arrest for identity theft, fraud, and conspiracy to commit murder." As they led her away, she looked back at me one last time. "I'm sorry, Amanda. I just wanted to know what it felt like to be you." I watched my sister being led away in handcuffs, feeling a complex mix of emotions. Anger, pity, grief, relief. 5 years of undercover work had finally brought justice for our parents, but the price had been higher than I'd imagined. Later that evening, I sat in my old office, truly mine again, looking through family photos. Sarah came in, holding 2 cups of coffee. "All the arrests are complete," she reported. "The entire organization is being dismantled. Your parents' killers will face justice." I nodded, picking up a photo of Lisa and me as children, smiling, arms around each other. "What about Lisa?" "She's cooperating. Her testimony will help ensure everyone involved pays for their crimes." Sarah paused, "Including herself." "She'll go to prison." "Yes, but her cooperation will be taken into consideration at sentencing." I set the photo down, thinking about choices and consequences. You know what the hardest part is? Understanding how she could do this. Not just stealing my identity, but working with the people who killed our parents. Sarah sat down across from me. People can justify anything when they're scared and alone. She lost her parents and her sister in one night. The people who caused that loss offered her a way to feel powerful instead of vulnerable. By becoming me. By becoming who she thought you were. Strong, successful, fearless. She didn't realize that the real you was out there fighting for justice, not running away. I stood up, walking to the window. The city lights twinkled in the darkness, the same view I'd had 5 years ago when I made the decision to go undercover. What now? Sarah asked. Now I rebuild, I said. The company, my life, maybe even. Eventually, my relationship with Lisa. She's still my sister, despite everything. That's very forgiving of you. I turned back to her, not forgiveness. Not yet. But understanding maybe. We both lost our parents that night, and we both chose different paths to deal with that loss. I chose justice, she chose survival. The wrong kind of survival, but still. You could walk away, Sarah pointed out. Let her face the consequences of her choices without looking back. I shook my head. That's what I did last time, even if it was for the right reasons. Running away. Letting her think I was dead. It helped create this situation. This time I need to stay, face the mess, help her find a better path if I can. Sarah smiled. You're a better person than most would be in this situation. No, I said, picking up the family photo again. Just someone who finally understands that sometimes the hardest choices aren't between right and wrong, but between different kinds of pain. Over the next few months, life settled into a new rhythm. I testified at multiple trials, watching as the organization that killed my parents was systematically dismantled. Lisa's cooperation proved invaluable, leading to even more arrests. I visited her in prison regularly. Our conversations were difficult at first, full of accusations and explanations, but gradually we began to rebuild something. Not the close relationship we'd had as children, but something new, tempered by understanding and hard truths. I used to dream about you coming back, she told me during one visit. But in my dreams, you came back to find me still being Lisa, still being the sister you left behind. Instead, you found this. We can't go back, I said. But we can go forward. When you get out, there will be a place for you. Not as me, but as yourself. She smiled sadly. I'm not sure I remember how to be myself anymore. Then we'll figure it out together. 1 year after the courtroom revelation, I stood in a cemetery at our parents' grave. The case was finally closed, all the perpetrators sentenced, justice served. But closure, I was learning, didn't mean an end to grief or complexity. Lisa would be in prison for several more years. The company was thriving under my leadership. Life had moved on, as it always does. But the past was always there, teaching its harsh lessons about choices and consequences, about the fine line between protection and abandonment, between justice and revenge. I placed flowers on the grave, thinking about family and forgiveness, about the choices we make in moments of fear and pain, about sisters who lose their way and find it again, about the long road back from betrayal. I did it, Mom and Dad, I whispered. I found the truth, and maybe, in time, I'll find a way to help Lisa find her truth too.